If you can sew straight stitch, then you can make this simple tote bag. Hello, welcome to Sew with Zoba. On this video, I'll be teaching you how I made this simple tote bag with zipper. Now, these are the fabric I'll be using. The fabric I'm using is a simple Ankara fabric. You can use any fabric of your choice, and I'll also be needing a lining and an interfacing. The length of the width of this bag is 26 inches. The weight of this fabric is 26 inches, and while the length is 16 inches. So the longest part is 26 inches, and the other part is 16 inches. So I'm measuring it to be sure that I have my perfect measurement. The lining is also the same size, 26 inches by 16 inches. Then let's go to the back strap. The strap is 26 inches, the width. Then the length is about 4 inches wide. So that's the fabric we'll be using for our back strap, our bag handle. So measuring that to be sure it is exactly 4 inches. Okay. Then the interfacing I'll be using is a paper interfacing. It has glue on one side. So I'm going to iron on the main fabric on the interfacing, the part that glues. Then the next one is our zipper gusset. The width is 7 inches, while the length is 4 inches less the width of our bag. Then I also have a matching zipper. So this is the glue part. I'll iron my fabric on it so it glues and gives it strength. So I'm going to iron it on it. Then after doing that, I'll cut out the excess interfacing on the fabric. So this is it. I folded it in half. So this is the full view before I went ahead to fold it into half. Remember, I told you can use any interfacing of your choice. You can use wadding, you can use foam, but I decided to use a paper gum stay. We call it paper gum stay, an interfacing. So after that, I'm going to turn it this way. Don't forget, I folded it on the longest part, which is the 26 inches. So I'm going to measure 2.5 inches. I'm going to measure 2.5 inches. From that edge, from that two edges, measure 2.5 inches. Mark it out with a ruler to be sure that it is straight. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and cut it out. I'll cut it out from the two side. Be careful so you don't cut more than you should cut. So use my scissors to cut that out. Also cut the other side. So this is what I have after I've cut out the two side, 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches. I also do the same thing for the lining. From this edge, mark out 2.5 inches. Then from the other edge also, folded part, I'll mark out 2.5 inches. Then I cut it out. So it's going to be exactly as the main fabric. So after doing that, this is what I'm going to be having, exactly just like how the main fabric is. This is it, and this is also the main fabric. They're exactly the same shape. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to fold it back. Yes, how it was when we were cutting it. Then I'm going to stitch an 1/2 inch seam allowance, an 1/2 inch stitch on 1/2 inch on this side, and also stitch on the other side. So I've gone ahead to stitch on the two sides and also on the bottom parts, so the two edges will match. That's why I stitch on the bottom part, even though it is not open, I still stitch on it so the two edges can match. This is the lining. I stitch it the same way. Then the next thing we're going to do is to take this side, open it up. Yes, I'm going to open it up, then match it, stitch line to stitch line. So after I've matched it stitch line to stitch line, I went ahead to sew on it. Yes, go ahead and sew on it. We'll do the same thing also for the lining. Stitch line to stitch line. You can pin it if you are finding it difficult. Then take it to the sewing machine and sew with 1/2 inch both the lining and the main fabric. So after doing that, this is what I have with 1/2 inch. So this is it, the other part. And I also did the same for the lining. The next thing is to turn it inside out. So this is our bag, it's coming out. I turned it inside out. So let's go to our strap. For the strap, which is 4 inches wide, I'm going to fold over 1 inch and press it down with my iron. Then the other side also, I'll fold it over and press it down with my iron. So after doing that, I also fold it over in the middle and also iron it. Also fold it over in the middle and iron it. After doing that, this is what I have. Yes, so this is the fold 1, fold 2, then the middle fold. I did that for the two straps. Then after that, you go ahead and stitch it on. Yes, stitch it on your sewing machine, a straight line on the two of them. So this is it. After I've done it, after I've done that, I keep that aside. Then get the main bag. Yes, the main bag. I get also my measuring tape. I measure out 4 inches from the edge. I measure out 4 inches from the edge, from the two edges, the front and back part of the bag. Then I get my strap. I place my strap inside the 4 inches. After the 4 inches, you place it towards the middle. Then you pin it. Or if you have a clip, you can also use a clip. I pinned it down, and I also did that for the second part and also for the second strap. I have also done that for the second strap. So after doing that, go ahead and stitch with 1/4 inch. Yes, on all sides, on all the edges of the strap. Then this is your lining. You get your lining. You don't need to turn it inside out. Get your lining and tuck it into the main bag, to the main fabric. Then you're going to match the stitch line to the stitch line and then pin it. After doing that, I'm going to sew it round. So I've gone ahead to sew it round. So this is what we have after I've sewn it round. Then the next thing I'm going to do is the zipper. Let's now face the zipper. So for the zipper, this is zipper gusset. Like I told you, it is 4 inches less the width of your bag. Then the width is 7 inches. Then I'll go ahead, fold it into two. Yes, fold it by the 7 inches. I'm going to fold it by the 7 inches. Then I'll cut it out. I'll cut it out. So now we have two strips, or yes, two strips. Then I'll go ahead again, fold it up again, and cut out. Cut it into two equal parts. I'll do that for the two of them. Then this is the zipper. So to get the length of our zipper, I'm going to measure the length of our bag. The top width of my bag is 15 inches. The length of my bag will be 3 inches more. The length of my zipper will be 3 inches more than the width of my bag. So which is 18 inches. The width of my bag is 15 inches and the length of my zipper is 18 inches. So go ahead and cut it from that part. After that, you're going to get a random piece of square fabric, place it on the zipper this way, fold it over by half, fold it over by half, then stitch on it. So after doing that, I raise it up this way, then I fold it over, fold one and fold two. Then I went ahead to stitch it round. Yes, so I stitched it round. This is what I have. That's stitching it round. So the next thing is to fold the edge of our zipper this way. No, the top part of the zipper. Fold it up that way, then stitch on it. So we're going to get our zipper gusset that we divided into four. I'm going to fold the edge of the fabric, all edges of the four pieces. Fold it, iron it, or you can sew on it. But I think it's best you iron on it. Then I'm going to get the zipper, place the gusset that we just folded, place it on it this way. One, take the other one, place it on it just this way and sew half an inch. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side of the zipper. Yes, do exactly the same for the other side of the zipper. So after stitching on it with half an inch, then we're going to top stitch. So after doing that, this is what I have. Top stitch near the zipper teeth. The next step is to fold your zipper gusset into two middle parts. Give it a notch on the two sides. I went ahead to give it a notch on the two sides. So then do the same thing for the bag. Fold it up. The side to side will match. Then I'm going to notch the midpoint of this bag. I went ahead to notch the midpoint. So after I've done that, I picked up the zipper gusset, the notched part of the zipper gusset, so the notched part of the bag, midpoint to midpoint, pin it up, pin up the other side. So I opened up the zipper so it will be easy for me to sew. So after pinning it up, I'll go ahead and stitch on the zipper gusset with quarter of an inch. I stitch it on with quarter of an inch. I'll do that, then I'll show you. So I'm going ahead to do that, and this is what I have. Yes, we still have rough edges. We're going to cover it with a strip of fabric. So I'm going to cut out a strip of fabric that is the width of the bag 15 inches. So the strip of fabric is going to be 16 inches. Yes, and the length is going to be 2 inches. So this is a 16 inches by 2 inches fabric. So I'm going to sew up half of an inch. I wait ahead to sew half of an inch. Then I wear it over the bag this way. Over the bag. So it's exactly the same size. Then I go ahead and sew half inch round. Half inch round. So after doing that, this is what I have. Make sure your bag strap is staying properly. Now this is it. Fold it up this way. Then you fold up half an inch, fold down half an inch, and fold down the second half an inch. I go on the sewing machine and sew this all round. So after doing that, this is what I have. Our bag is ready. Don't forget to cut out any loose thread so your work will be neat. This is it. If you have enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends about this channel. Support my channel. See you in the next one.